Nurah Speaks is a weekly podcast that tugs at the soul and consciousness of the Black community. With show topics such as youth empowerment, education, women's impact, and civic engagement, Nurah Speaks challenges the listener to not only join the movement, but be the movement. On the show, you'll learn from insightful guests who have demonstrated capacity in these fields and more, and I'm your host, Nurah Muhammad. Welcome to the show. Welcome to another episode of the Nurah Speaks podcast, and I am your host, Nurah Muhammad. Welcome to episode 99. This is such a remarkable experience. This is such a remarkable milestone as the next episode will be episode 100. And as episode 100 is released, I will also be celebrating my 2-year anniversary on the podcast. And I am just so happy and so pleased and so grateful and so blessed to have had this opportunity to be on this journey for 2 years and also to have you on this journey with me as you've watched the growth or listened to the growth of the podcast, the growth of myself, and my ability to articulate a message that is timely and relevant, and to host interesting guests who also have impactful words to share with the audience. This has certainly been a privileged experience for me, and it's one that I am eager to continue. And I want to thank you for listening and for being with me these last 2 years, for being with me in 99 episodes, and next week, again, it'll be 100. Thank you for joining with me. Thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for sharing this podcast. Thank you for your feedback. Thank you for your encouragement. Thank you for your support. No one does anything all by themselves. The person who thinks that they are doing something all by themselves is just someone who's not recognizing those who are around them who contribute to the mechanism. I heard someone say once that there are hundreds of people that help you get dressed in the morning. There's someone who picked the cotton that would become your T-shirt. There's a seamstress that sewed the garments together. There's someone who is manufacturing the tips that is the plastic that goes on your shoelace. So none of us do anything completely by ourselves, although for me, I'm in this booth, this studio by myself. But I know that I have so many people who have supported me, so many people who have encouraged me. Even the podcasters that I've listened to, that I've learned from, that I have grown with, the guests that I've grown with, the guests who have been on the podcast with me, sharing insightful information with you and me, those who have been my mentors, those who have supported me personally, encouraged me personally in this journey, those who have been along the way of my development through my education, through my career. You know, everything that has occurred in one's life influences who they become and who they are becoming. So I, although I'm sitting in this seat here by myself, I know that I'm not alone. I know that you are with me too. So thank you again for riding with me these 2 years. And if you find that this podcast has value to you, and if you think that this podcast can have value to others, I do encourage you to share this podcast with your family and friends. You can, whatever app you use, you can send them a text to the episode that you think might interest them. You can grab their phone and subscribe for them on the app that their phone has, whether they are an Android or an Apple user. There are so many apps now where you can stream podcasts. There is SoundCloud. There is Spotify. There is Radio Public. There is Castbox. There is Stitcher. There's Spreaker. There's so many different applications, and free applications at that, where you can listen to a podcast on your walk, on your run, on your drive, while you're cleaning your house, while you're doing your chores. And I know if you are like me, you probably listen when you're doing some busy work. And that is the great thing about podcasts. It's not time sensitive, like some other things are. You can, skip a couple weeks and then come back and catch up in just one day or a couple hours. So, consume the podcast in a way that is natural and agreeable and enjoyable for you. And let me know what you think. You are always, always welcome to send me an email. You can email me at Nurah@NurahSpeaks.com. Again, that's Nurah@NurahSpeaks.com. You can, send me an email of encouragement. You can send me an email of constructive criticism. Let me know what you think about the podcast. Let me know what you think about some of the guests that have joined me on the podcast. You can let me know of some subject matters that you would like my perspective on, or a guest perspective on. As I mentioned when I interviewed Sister Shabri Muhammad, the educator, I said that, she's someone who I want my audience to hear from on a pretty regular basis, because her insight into education is not an insight that we will find in popular or general educational circles. And she has a perspective that is unique, and she has a practice towards education that is effective specifically for the Black child. And I think that all educators, all parents, all school administrators, all district administrators should hear from her. And so if you have a question for her, you can send that question into me, and I will make sure that the next time you hear from Shabri Muhammad on this podcast, then I will be happy to present your question to her. Even if you yourself would like to be a guest on the podcast, you can feel free to email me of your interest. Tell me a little bit about yourself. You can share your social media, your website, and let me know why you think you would like to be on the podcast. Let me know what service or product that you are offering to people, and how you've been effective with your service and with your product, and how you are positively impacting our community. I would love to hear from you. Whether you're in the field of education, as Shabri is, whether you're in an industry that serves people in different capacities. I've had, Chris Collins from the Anointed News Journal, which is a weekly newspaper. I've had Lenita Mitchell Blackwell, who is someone that has a media group on the podcast. I've had Sonia Prince of the Kwesi Prince Foundation, which is a foundation that supports research for childhood juvenile cancers. So I've had a very wide variety of guests. And if you think that you have something insightful to share with the audience, and that the audience should know about you, please feel free to email me. Again, my email address is Nurah@NurahSpeaks.com. So as this is episode 99, and I am just 1 week away from episode 100, and 1 week away from my 2-year anniversary, I am just remarking on what a major milestone that is. And there have been several milestones in my life. My elder son, who you heard on the podcast, he turned 18 years old, and that is such a milestone for him. That is a milestone for me. I was explaining to him that as he reached the age of 18, then his father and I are no longer his legal guardians. Now he is responsible for himself, and he has the fortune and the privilege to have his parents continue to guide him, as now he is a young adult. But that is a milestone that, my son, I have raised him to the age of majority, and now He can make his own decisions. And, you know, I think about so many mothers and families who have unfortunately lost their young people to unfortunate events. And, the fact that I have been privileged and blessed to raise this young man for 18 years, and the fact that he has been such a blessing to us and to his community is just something that I thank God for each and every single day. And I think I became a mother 18 years ago, and, each of my children's birthdays, it's their birthday, but it's also a special day for me because it is the day that I got to meet these wonderful young people. So, it's just a wonderful privilege, and it's a beautiful milestone to have marked. And as I am coming up on a major anniversary for this podcast, I'm thinking about the milestones that we all arrive to at some point in our lives. A milestone is, just simply reaching a stage of development or a certain landmark in our journeys. And, there's so many areas of our lives where you and I are reaching milestones, whether that's in your marriage, that's in parenthood, like me with having an 18-year-old, your career milestones, financial, fitness, artistic, your educational milestones, whether you are graduating college in 3 years or 6 years, whether you are at your 1-year marriage anniversary or your 10-year or your 20-year marriage anniversary, to reach or to have a milestone that really, simply means that you and I have endured the challenges of time. Time puts so many tests in front of us. Time allows us to break down barriers and to push through, when the going can get tough. So, as we are going about our various journeys, you're in your journey, I'm in my journey, time confronts us with a lot. Time will show us what our strengths and weaknesses are. Time will show us what our talents are, what our handicaps are. Time will show us who our supporters are, who our detractors are. Time will show us if we're short-winded or if we have endurance. And it is such a blessing for us to endure these challenges. So much of life, is about the cycle of the hills and the valleys, and how much we love to go in our valleys, where you're kind of going downhill, with such little resistance. But when it's time to climb those hills, sometimes when the going gets tough, we stop, we quit, we create an excuse, we blame others, we blame the circumstances, we blame the conditions. But how rewarding it is when we continue to push through, to forge forward. And I would encourage you that as you are in your journey, and whatever milestone you are achieving, I would encourage you to celebrate achieving that milestone, reaching that milestone. Celebrate those times where, celebrate those times in your life, whether they are the major milestones or the minor milestones. They're still a milestone. And don't cut yourself short or do yourself an injustice by not celebrating your milestone because your milestone doesn't seem grand enough. As I said, maybe you graduated in 6 years instead of 3 or instead of 4, but you graduated, right? So acknowledge that. Don't put a but it took 6 years. No, but you graduated, and just leave it at that. So let's not sell ourselves short, and let's celebrate ourselves. There's a quote that people often quote, and the quote is attributed to Dr. Martin Luther King, where he talks about, you know, not seeing the whole staircase, but still taking the first step. And so many of our journeys is just like that. We might not know what the end result is going to look like. We don't know what the last step is going to look like. We don't know who we're going to be when we're taking that last step, but we still have to take the first one to get to the second one before we get to the fourth and the fifth one, and continuing to take a step and move forward. And it's gratifying to do so. For me personally, in this podcast, I started off with my first few episodes, and then I looked up and I was recording episode 21 and 22. And then I looked up and I was recording episode 51 and 52, and I was celebrating a year of podcasting. And, then I'm at 71 and 72. Now I'm at episode 99 and soon to be episode 100. And, I wasn't in a rush. I knew episode 99 and episode 100 will come, and I knew they would come naturally. I just had to keep plodding forward. Episode 99, episode 100, they weren't, and they were not my goals, but they were milestones that I knew I would achieve along the way. My goal is and has always been to tug at the soul and consciousness of the Black community. And that is what I strive to do with each and every episode, with each and every guest. So my goal isn't so much numerical by achieving a certain number of episodes. I want to continue providing really good content for my listeners. And so that is my primary focus. And then I looked up and here I am, right on the verge. And so this is exciting for me. And I want to just take this opportunity again to thank you. Episode 99 is, I guess, my episode of reflection and thinking about how blessed I have been, and how blessed I have been to have great listeners like you who continue to give me feedback, who continue to either give praise or constructive criticism, because I need both and I welcome both. I want to continue to serve my community and be unapologetic in serving my community. Some people have said, well, I know your podcast tugs at the soul and consciousness of the Black community, but what about other people? And I think, well, other people can have their podcast hosts who can speak to their needs, or could speak to a more broad audience, or could have a broader target audience base, and that's fine for them. But I recognize the unique needs of my community, and that's what I focus on, and that's who I am loyal to. And I do not apologize for that. I'm proud to know who my people are, and I'm even more proud to be in a place of serving my people. So again, I just want to thank you for being with me, because as I have achieved 99 episodes, you also have achieved 99 episodes with me, and I am so grateful. And I want you to celebrate yourself, celebrate your milestones. We are closing out 2019 in a few short days, and I want you to, if you have not, go back and think over this past year that you've had, and really reflect on the accomplishments that you've had. Sometimes we get in such, we get into the rhythm of our work, we get into the rhythm of our day-to-day motions, and sometimes we don't stop and sit and reflect. We don't stop and sit and reflect on the achievements and the progress of our children, of our spouses, of our parents, of our neighbors, of our schools, and of our communities. But take some time and reflect on those special milestones, and celebrate yourself, and celebrate your community, celebrate your family, celebrate your children, celebrate your spouse, and appreciate the moments that you've had together. Appreciate the wins, no matter how big or how small. If they're wins, then they're wins. And I want to thank you again for being with me, for listening. Continue to share the podcast with those who you think it would benefit. Continue to come back week after week. I am so excited about episode 100. I have to tell you, I am joined by some wonderful guests, and I'll be introducing some new things to you in episode 100. In fact, I will tell you that it's unique because I was unexpectedly and surprised to be interviewed on my own podcast. So do stay tuned for episode 100. But in the meantime, I want to thank you again for being such wonderful listeners, such great supporters. And if you listen to this podcast and you support me, then you are supporting yourself. So until next time, stay in peace. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Nurah Speaks podcast. Be on the lookout for a new episode coming at you fresh next week. And as always, if you want to learn more about me and the work that I do, visit my website, nurahmuhammad.com. Or if you have a listener question, email me at info@nurahspeaks.com. You can also follow the Nurah Speaks podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Nurah Speaks Podcast. I'll be sure to include links in the show notes. If this show has value to you, please subscribe, rate, and review, and share it with family and friends. And be sure to check out previous episodes. And remember, don't just join the movement, be the movement. Stay in peace.